I want their leader brought here. I want him brought to me. I want the revolution crushed.
Let's fix that.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm
Bro,
so
you're
sorry. We're unmuted now. We're good now. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Mamluks. My name is Sim. Along with me is my co-host Sheikh Amir.
Assalamu alaikum.
Bijani B. Muhammad, aka Shez.
Afaq.
AKA Moko.
You got a lot of names.
That,
And
keeps,
he got,
that keeps the FBI guessing. Who is this guy? I don't know.
This squad is our man Harry. Welcome,
welcome, Harry. Can you see
Assalamu
us? Can you hear us?
Hey, assalamu alaikum, guys. How you doing?
Good. Very nice.
Yeah, I can see you guys and hear you. We got a bit of an echo going on, though.
That's you.
We don't hear anything.
We don't have an echo.
Okay, fixed.
All right.
All right. Yeah. So, I'm on a mission now to learn Arabic in about 1 year.
No,
That's
okay,
why-
hold on. You
yeah.
said 6 months. It's still hard to believe. What month did you start? Do you remember exactly when you started?
What is?
I don't think it's been 6 months, bro. I think it's been like 3
I think
months.
it's been like 5 months actually. 5 months. Yeah, 4 or 5 months. Maybe 4. But
May.
yeah,
End of May,
Who are you studying
June,
with?
July. You know, dude, it's only been like 3 months, bro.
is it?
Yeah, dude, you scared the heck out of me, bro.
No, it's not 3 months. It's only.
I know it was like when the summer was beginning.
No.
Just check. But anyways, because
Yeah,
scared.
we'll
If you
check.
say 6
And-
months, I have a lot of problems going on, bro.
Why? Is it
6 months? It honestly seems like literally like 2 months. Like sometimes like, it seems so long. But it's one of those. It's like, it really felt like 2 or 3 months. If you say 6 months, I was like, dude, what the heck is up with my brain?
I know it definitely. It's 4 months.
Okay. Alhamdulillah. Anyways, man. Alhamdulillah.
So-
it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. What are some challenges that you're facing? I remember you had some really cool insight because you're learning at a different age, your different intelligence level.
Yeah.
What are some crazinesses
One thing you
that
learn
people don't
is
talk about that you figured out?
there's different layers of knowledge. Like you learn that, okay, well, I know this. I can read children's books pretty confidently now and not have much difficulty in reading it. But if you ask me to say something from those same children's books, but you just ask me to say it randomly, like say it in Arabic.
So you're saying like human knowledge is what you mean by knowledge?
No. There's layer, meaning there's a layer of recall and
Yes.
speech. There's recall. There's a layer of memory. There's a layer of comprehension and structure.
Comprehension's there for you.
Yeah.
But just uttering it, saying it, the recall, the implementation of it is difficult. That's actually the most difficult part.
Right, but even if you understand the grammar when you're reading it, you have to write it as well.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, I know what it says just by reading it. I can tell all the different conjugations and sort it all out." You have to write it out.
Yeah, writing is very important. That's why you see some of these books. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But like, even that's one thing I actually liked about Medina books. I think it's somewhat of an underrated book, even in our time now, for the beginning of classical Arabic work. Is there's so many. The chapters of study are actually very little, and the writing is very extensive.
Yeah.
And it's fun too. It's like easy writing. It's not like a lot of brain juice that you need. It's just a repetition over and over. That's why I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So,
Really?
and I love it. I love it because
That's a
it's
beautiful
such a
thing,
hard thing. And I've taken on a lot of different challenges over my life, and for example, like learning the guitar was incredibly painful in the beginning. it's painful on your fingers, your joints. You're getting like nerve pain, all kinds of different pain because you're not using the right technique. And that was like an incredible challenge, but that was mostly like painful. There's like comprehension challenges as well, and that, but it's not as it's not as difficult as Arabic.
Especially learning on your own, you're not in the environment. So this is actually is an extra layer
Right.
of difficulty.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
it's not that the Arabic language is that much difficult. It's just that you're not in the environment.
Yeah.
You need the environment around you to kind of force you to speak and force you to come up with Arabic terms, so that you can't use English as a crutch. Even if I talk to you and practice with you, I'll still like default back to English when I'm stuck. But you're not when you're speaking to a native Arabic speaker who knows very little English. You don't have that. So I'm going to be supplementing that problem by hiring someone who I can speak to from Egypt or whoever.
You save a lot of money, dude.
Yeah.
$1 is 50 Janae now. When we were there, it was like
God.
seven Janae, I think.
Yeah.
It's 50 Janae now. One of my friends came back from there. One awesome crutch we have is Desi's. And I'm pretty sure like Persians and people in other cultures.
So
but
much
India,
of our language.
So much. So when I was in Mauritania, if I didn't know a word, I'd be like say it in Urdu, hopefully someone would understand. And like 15% of the chance it worked.
Yeah.
15% of the time it worked. I was like, I don't know what to say because it was in the beginning. I was like, let me just try the Urdu. And sometimes it would work.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
a lot of loan words.
That
from
happens in
Arabic.
Indonesia too. If you say something in Arabic, there's a 15% chance they'll hear it. Because if you look at the doors here,
Yeah.
they say tariq, pull.
Ah.
That's Arabic word
Yeah.
or some variation of that. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
same here.
There's a lot of loan words from Arabic into other Asian languages.
Yeah.
Obviously, because
Even I found out about the Philippines also.
Yeah.
They say salamat. Who's telling me about that? Salamat to
Oh,
like
yeah,
bye
this-
or hi?
Yeah,
Wait,
this is a
Sim,
lot.
who are you studying with?
Oh no, I'm doing this all by myself. Like through all these YouTube instructors. There's like 10 different sources, bro. I have a regimen. I'm gonna make a whole separate YouTube video just dedicated.
That's awesome. I was going to ask
with,
you about
with
that.
someone who is teaching probably, so that they can kind of go through the multiple apps from Pimsleur to Bilingua to Duolingo. I've tried pretty much every one of them, and they're all part of my routine. I don't say anyone is bad. I think they all are different. They're working on different areas of language, and they can be very useful if you use them correctly. If you just rely on one thing and say, "Oh, I'm just gonna Bilingua sucks because," or Duolingo sucks because it didn't help me much. Well, it's one part of the language that you're learning.
It takes a lot of maturity to
There's-
understand that.
yeah.
Because a lot of people give up.
Yeah, because
One or two systems don't work and they give up.
you got to spend some good money on it. You got to get 5-6 different apps that you're paying for, and all are focusing on different
Wow.
areas from vocab.
I remember you were saying
yeah.
you're spending like 3 hours a day or 4 hours a day
Yeah,
sometimes?
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive, bro.
Did
On
you,
your own.
Do you listen to like news in Arabic too?
I'm
Like-
not. I tried that, and it was just proving to be too difficult and frustrating. But what I did like to do is I would put on Al Jazeera, and I would take down the Arabic from it, and I would start writing it down and translating it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would at least know what the graphics were talking about. Like newscaster or news reporter, all these different terms that are usually on like news channel screens, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at least you understand, okay, well, what are they talking about?
And what about like watching shows with Arabic subtitles or in Arabic language with English subtitles?
So there's only not a whole lot of that stuff. Like, for example, there's cartoons,
Yeah.
right? And then there's like the Omar series. And the Omar series is still a little too advanced for me to understand it. There's obviously you're going to pick up a few words here and there, but it's still a bit difficult.
You want to hone in on the step-by-step progression.
Yeah.
Each progression, you want to hone in on it.
Yeah.
Every step, you want to be able to embrace it properly.
'Cause
Instead of being like, okay, because it's not about giving up. It's about how am I going to spend my time wisely if I'm doing this on my own.
Yeah.
Because if you go something completely advanced and then you're just knocking your head all the time, or you're going something one step above where you're supposed to be instead of 10, you're actually absorbing like 70% of it.
Right.
And you can fill in the blank in the rest, and that's how you learn faster or better, inshallah.
The thing is, we've all had some kind of, at least the people who don't speak Arabic, many people who grew up in this country, Muslims who grew up in this country, they were part of some sort of institute, some sort of online class that told them to come in once a week, and I'm not saying it's impossible, but I feel like that is a fool's errand. You're not going to learn Arabic. You would have to have such incredible discipline to do it every week for a number of years, several years, before you got into even an intermediate level.
That's actually an interesting question.
I'd say you're better off learning a little bit every day rather than once a week for 3 hours.
Yeah.
If you do 30 minutes a day on any language, you're better off.
Absolutely. So I think, well, when you are telling yourself, oh, I'm enrolled in the Arabic class, and I'm going there once a week, and I'm going to study a couple hours a week and make sure the homework is done for that class, for the next class, that's just not enough.
Also, this is a pet peeve of mine, and I get really upset with this.
Microphone a little closer.
Sure. I get really upset with this because a lot of the Arabic programs and institutes and stuff, they're always focused on Quranic Arabic.
Yeah.
And when people get like enthusiastic and they're like, okay, I'm starting to learn about Islam, I want to learn Arabic, they jump into Fusha, and specifically the Quranic Fusha. That's like, just to take like a step back, like if you tell them to learn modern standard, they're like, no, I don't want to learn that. I want to focus on the Quran. I want to learn the Quran so I get khushu in my salah. But that's like, you're jumping from 0 to 60. You're jumping from the first step all the way up to the top of the stairs. Imagine if someone from India came and they're like, hey, I want to learn Shakespeare, and I'm going to start learning Old English, like, whatever, 17th century, 16th century English, and they don't speak a lick of English. It's a huge jump.
Yeah.
But if you start off with like, modern standard and then kind of work your way up, you'll learn a lot of the stuff for the Quran and for your salah, but that will help you understand and read like kids books and TV shows and news broadcasts and stuff, and then that will help you absorb the entire language.
If you're at news broadcast level, you're at the finish line. I mean, there's no real finish line. There's masters of Arabic who've studied Arabic for years and decades, and they're still learning new stuff. What I'm talking about is just
the learning stage.
The finish line to getting out of the hardest part of comprehension and reading and speaking. But yeah, that is ultimately the goal. Hopefully, after a year. I was always hesitant to talk about it because I didn't know, like, what if this thing just blows up in my face and I don't understand anything, But yeah, so now I'm at this level where I'm like, okay, I'm seeing results, but I'm still wanting to improve on that by speaking. The ability to recall stuff on the fly, that's a whole nother area of the brain, and it's just fascinating to really kind of just parse out how knowledge is kind of ingested in your mind, and how somebody who could read a book on, like, I got this book right here just next to me called The Empires of the Steppes, and it's about the history of the steppes, right? And I can go through that and I can read it several times over, but can I really speak about it, right? So I could speak about certain topics from it, but knowledge is like this other dimension.
Speaking about it confidently.
Speaking about it involves a knowledge of comprehension that few people really have when they say that they know something. Yeah. Right?
Because knowing is really interesting. Just because somebody speaks about it confidently doesn't mean they're accurate.
Right.
Because they can come off as confident, because they're really confident of what they think that they know, but you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
So embodying it, that's a very difficult word. That's a Wallahu Alam thing we're talking about. That's why we have to say Wallahu Alam, because it's a sign of humility, right? Because you're never going to actually know everything you're supposed to.
Yeah. One of my teachers, while Sheikh was studying in Egypt, we were studying at this institute called Riyadh al-Salihin, and developed a lot of great people who went all across the country and did really wonderful things with the knowledge they gained. But it was kind of like mostly a Salafi type institute, and they're teaching me Arabic, and like, it's my turn. They call upon me, and I'm like, Allahu Alim.
You can't answer that.
The teacher laughs. He's like, yes, Allah is.
It's a tricky situation because the teacher's sincere. He's got to show his respects too when you say something like that. and then you
Yeah, exactly.
butter them up, sweeten them up so they can't get too mad.
Yeah.
Make sure you sleep well. One of our our chat room viewers is saying that you have to sleep well when you learn a language, so that
comment.
all memory
Beautiful.
encoding happens during sleep.
Beautiful
Ooh,
advice.
That
Yes.
is good advice.
Yeah, that's advice. I learned that when I was learning the guitar. And when I was learning guitar, there were so many moments where I'm just like spending hours and hours and hours with learning. This is one of the reasons why I say like learning the guitar kind of helped me learn Arabic, because it kind of put that discipline in putting time into something every day and keep going at it and at it and at it and just keep breaking things
grind,
down
yeah.
to the most basic element of knowledge, so that you can understand it and you can speak. There's certain Arabic words, despite how similar Urdu is to Arabic, it's so hard to pronounce.
Yeah, because of the
And you're like, there's like connected letters that are like, what? Like, so yeah, you have to really break things down and let things settle with a good night's sleep. And sometimes you even need a break for a day or so, but I'm really hesitant on that. I usually, even if I was to take a kind of a day off, it would still be like half an hour to 45 minutes of studying in that day. That's like a light day.
And repetition of the
Yeah.
previous material. Like, that show, Ertugrul Ghazi?
Yeah.
So I was watching that, and there's a lot of loan words from Turkish into Urdu. So, like, they're talking about things. I'm like, wait a second. They're talking about chadar. Why? And then in Urdu, chadar is like your bed sheet or
Yeah.
a sheet. But they were using it as tent. And then the first time it just clicked. But then every time in later episodes, and the second they said it, I'm like, oh, I know that word.
Right,
I know that word in
osmosis.
Turkish now.
Osmosis
Yeah.
learning. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Perfect
crazy.
sense, man. A bed sheet can always be a tent if you're creative enough.
Yeah. And it can be a pillow fort, too, if you...
Yeah, that's
Or at least
right.
part of your
That's what I'm
pillow
talking
fort.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is probably a nice conversation for you. You're in like instructional design, right? So
Yeah.
this kind of stuff probably is like you could nerd out about it if you want, about like learning methods and teaching methods. You probably have to deal with a whole bunch of different types of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I just wish our Islamic institutions did something more than just grammar that's focused on Arabic. Like,
Yeah.
I did Duolingo too, and I learned a lot from that. And then when I started watching, like, on YouTube, there's so many kids' cartoons in Arabic.
Ninja Turtles and these guys.
Yeah.
They speak really fast though, but yeah.
But I started, like, watching it while doing Duolingo, and I was picking up on a whole different style of learning than just a rote grammar that's focused on really classical Arabic that's used in the Quran. And using the two together, just like how Sim was saying, like merging different methodologies together, it reinforces it in many different ways.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, folks, since you're here, please go ahead and click like on the episode, and make sure you throw a comment in the comment section. It really does help us out. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Halal Zada, for your
Zuzla.
tips.
Halal Zada.
Halal Zada gave us the tip for getting good night's sleep.
I love that name.
That's such an awesome name. Only if you knew. You got to be Desi to understand the magnitude of that
I
name.
think it's a curse word in Persian too, right?
Yeah. Zada is
Zada,
actually Persian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It means the BASTARD word.
Yeah.
For Harry. For Harry, we have to.
We have to translate. That's right. He probably knows. He has some Indian friends. You've heard him probably hear them say something like that.
We should have an entire episode on just like curse words in different languages.
Explaining Harry curse words.
Yeah.
Teaching him all the curse
Yeah.
words.
We're gonna need
Yeah,
some
the
Turkish.
only curse words I know of in another language are in Espanol and Iraqi Arabic. Don't ask me how I know those.
Well, we
Wait,
know how.
You haven't learned any
We
Malay.
know how those.
You haven't learned any Malay curse words yet.
I've Indonesia and Malaysian language are almost identical. Not quite. There's a little bit of discrepancy, but Indonesian curse words, the only one I really know is kampret.
Oh, great.
So
Thank
if
you
you
for
want to
sharing.
call
Great. Now we
somebody,
lost all of our funding and vendors.
yeah, no, that is definitely not going to trigger anything on the YouTube algorithm. I guarantee you.
Does it have anything to do with comprehension? What does that mean? What you just said?
Kampret means like crazy, insane, psychopathic
Oh, it's not that
bastard
bad.
wingbat. That's like, it's pretty. It's like, so in the last election, not this last election, but the previous election between President Jokowi and Mr. Prabowo. Pak Prabowo is now the current president, but before 4 years ago, the previous election cycle, the insults going back and forth between the Team Prabao and Team Jokowi was that the Jokowi supporters would call Prabao Kampret because he's like a short little kind of tough looking dude who used to be in the Indonesian
funny.
Special Forces. Like he's a crazy
I'm
angry
liking
dude.
this.
And the Prabao supporters would call Mr. Jokowi Jebol, which means like tadpole, like you're a beta male. like tadpole frog, baby frog. Yeah. So, because Jokowi's like this tall, very calm-spoken former furniture salesman who became a
This is so
politician.
good.
So it's like crazy wingbat versus beta male baby frog tadpole. Yeah, that was a
But I bet you they're like 10 times better than what's going on in America right now with all of our.
oh.
It's just,
Well, interestingly enough, yes. Mr. Jokowi is no longer the president. Mr. Prabao is. And in Mr. Prabao's cabinet, Jokowi's son is now the vice president.
Oh,
They actually had to amend the constitution to allow this because Mr. Jokowi's son, Gibran, I think is his name, he's so young. He's like in his 20s. So constitutionally, he was too young to be vice president until they made that change addendum. Yeah. So Indonesian politics is it's all theater, man. It's all Indonesian shadow puppets, basically. And
is Indonesia one of those places that if you openly talk about the government and criticize and scrutinize, challenge, do you get penalties? Almost
no,
you could say
no.
whatever
You have
chill?
to no, not really. Indonesia is actually pretty good on free speech, so long as you don't. Actually, Indonesia is interesting in that they have anti-blasphemy laws that apply to all religions. So if you're one of the 6 government-recognized religions here, if you insult the Virgin Mary or do a comedy skit about the Virgin Mary, you could go to jail. If you make fun of the Buddha, you could go to jail. So it's normally it's
Buddhists?
Muslims.
What's the percentage of
complain.
Buddhists there, though?
Oh,
What?
There's a few. There's
What's the
quite-
There's a
percentage of
Buddhist
Buddhists?
here, yeah.
No, I
My
mean,
landlord is a
generally,
Buddhist.
what's the percentage of Buddhists? And isn't it?
Oh, it's like less
it's
than
like
1%.
Yeah,
It's not very many.
yeah.
They're mostly here in the Jakarta area because most Buddhist people are the Chinese Indonesians, and most of the Chinese Indonesians are in Jakarta,
Makes sense.
or a few of
bring
them
in a lot
are
of
in
money.
Sumatra and Medan. Yeah, they're in the major cities mostly.
Indonesia used to be a Hindu country, right?
Back in the day.
Yes, it
Buddhist,
was
Buddhist.
Hindu and then Buddhist, and then it became Muslim. Really, starting about 300-400 years ago, there was a lot of dawah coming from both Yemeni businessmen and traders, but also from there were like these Bangladeshi Sufi missionaries that went throughout the country. There's a whole history of that, and then there's a bunch of Sufi missionaries that Wali Sango is the name of one of them, who's famous Sufi missionary that brought Islam to Indonesians. I don't know if he was from 400 years ago or from the last century. I'll have to ask my wife on that. I can't remember, but when I first heard that, I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Indonesia was not a conquered Muslim country. It was not ever conquered caliphate extension. It was pretty much all by dawah.
All dawah,
Islam
yeah.
came.
I heard that
Yeah.
the rice came actually originally from Indonesia. That the Indonesians were island hopping all the way to Madagascar. And from Madagascar, the rice went up north all the way to the Mediterranean, and so on. And that's like basically how rice kind of came to the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
But it was physically in Indonesia first.
Originally, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, there's some history for you. We do it all here on the Mad Mamluks. You got Palestine, you got Arabic, you got rice.
White guy in Indonesia doesn't get any better than that.
Oh, you
bro.
got a white guy. We talk about rose,
Ruz, yes sir.
rice.
Ruz.
Yeah.
Heck yeah, bro.
All right. Hey, what do you got on tap, man? What's on your mind? You got
Me?
Yeah, you got any?
I'm on tap.
What's
What's tickling your noodle?
yeah?
What's tickling my noodle? Well, first of all, I'd like to give a shout out to the unofficial sponsor of this show here. It's not a sponsor, but I'm going to promote them anyway. I want to give a shout out to Kopi Kanagan, the official Indonesian brand of coffee for people who don't support genocide.
Nice.
So shout out to Kopi Kanagan for this delicious creation. But they're about 10, a few kilometers. Just we'll say 3-4 kilometers down this way. There's the old Dutch colonial administration, and I've been thinking about this whole thing going on with Bibi Netanyahu coming to our Congress in Washington, D.C.
Oh, yeah.
And the APAC headquarters that are in D.C. And I just think one day, inshallah, that's going to be a museum piece just like the colonial Dutch administration back down this way.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, our colonial occupiers have really exposed themselves. And I'm actually really positive about the future for America in a way. Because I think there's been a turning. There's a page turn. You can feel it. There's a change in the wind. That people now realize who our colonial occupiers really are. And who our enemies really are. And it's not the Muslims. The old people mostly still haven't gotten it. But some of them do. And the ones that don't, they won't be around much longer. The younger generation is... I think there's going to be a revolution in this country very soon. And by that, I don't mean violent revolution. I mean peaceful revolution. There's going to be a peaceful change of power. We're in what some people will call one historian calls fourth generational turning that happens every 4 to 5 generations.
Nice.
We're in it. World War II was the last major fourth generational turning.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like the builders and the innovators, right? There's like 4 generations that keep cycling through.
Yes. Yeah. We're in the fourth generational turning, and it feels like it's an exciting time to be alive, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, in a lot of ways.
It is.
I think we are going to definitely see the collapse of Israel, if not the complete destruction. And I think our children will probably see the complete destruction of Israel.
Yeah, it's out of control. You know, one of our friends shared that when Netanyahu used to come to, I think when he came to America in 2020, he actually brought his laundry to get washed here, and the mind games that these satanic beings have is something else. Just to show, and it was reported obviously intentionally, and this in the middle of the ICJ and everybody calling him, genocidal, or ICJ didn't call him genocidal, but potential genocide. But the whole world knows what's up. Dude just shows up, no problem. Everyone's protesting, not a problem. Like he just owns the place, you know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of people he does own. I mean, it's very clear now. But it's a crazy thing.
I would spin that washing machine.
I would spin that washing machine, yes, sir.
If I was working at the White House staff, I'd spin that washing machine.
Did you guys see how much security and how much commotion there was at the hotel? They had like just rows and rows of fencing.
The projector was awesome too. That idea that somebody did that projector on his where his hotel room was located.
Yeah,
they thought of a lot of cool things, bro.
The chef's kiss was putting mealworms on the dining table, and crickets, and
that was crazy.
All the stuff. That was hilarious. They're gonna get everywhere. They're gonna get into the laundry too.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Let me show it here.
And I don't know. Do you know how true that is? As far as that dude who was started burning of the American flag, that was just some Mossad agent. Like everyone on Twitter was saying.
Of course, it was a Mossad agent. It's like what happened in the World Trade Organization protests in Seattle back in the day. They've always had, or Ray Epps with the whole thing with the Jan 6. I told people that. I said that whole thing is a setup. The Trumpers were said, "Oh, there's an insurrection, blah. These rednecks are insurrecting," and then it turns out it was just Ray Epps.
So
everybody else was just on tour.
A question I have is, how do they get in to do all this?
Hang on,
go ahead.
It's all these mealworms on Netanyahu's table.
Arabic rap. Crickets.
Your attention, please. The fire alarm in this building has been activated. Cease operation.
So
Commentary is that a rap?
That this seems like a Arabic rap.
It is Arabic. So how do they? Pardon my ignorance. How do they get in to do that?
No, I think there's just people who are sympathizers. You talk to someone who knows someone in the hotel, and they're like, okay, well, we can figure out a way to just smuggle it in. They're not in the airport, right? There's so many people in a hotel. What are they going to do? Empty the whole entire hotel out for Netanyahu? That's not how it works. So, what they do is they probably rent rooms in the hotel. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. If I was going to plan something like that.
Yeah, if anybody in the comments knows how this is, let us know what's up, because it's interesting.
You rent out typical hotel rooms before he's coming. You rent out a bunch of hotel rooms in different hotels where the U.S. government usually has dignitaries stay over. And you begin working and scouting how to go about making this guy's life miserable. Where's the most security at, so you kind of get an idea of which vicinity he's in, which floor he's in, which floors are off limits. You end up knowing, okay, he's on these 2 floors, right? So it's just a lot of deducing.
So a lot of the stuff was like around him, but not directly related to him. So like pulling the fire alarms, right? Like there's fire alarms everywhere. You can just walk up to any fire alarm on any floor. And
That's true. Yeah.
And then if the conference room is not being utilized, they just set it up and they leave. It's not secured. You can just come in and dump crickets by the door, and they'll get inside or
That's
whatever.
crazy
right?
how that happens. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, here's another clip. So this is a hotel. They got a sign or a big floodlight that says "Wanted Netanyahu."
Nice.
Arrest.
Now, I don't know if the protesters were intentionally going for this, but when I looked at that table, I had this idea in my head, perhaps they were trying to go along the style of the plagues of Egypt. Did anybody else have that feeling?
I didn't think about that.
That's interesting.
So then I was thinking as I was watching that video just now, I don't know if this, I'm going to be very careful here on what I say, but some part of me goes, I wonder if some of the plagues of Egypt were partially initiated by the ancient Israelis as a way to troll the Pharaoh. I wonder.
Were there any frogs in the hotel?
Frogs. Tadpoles.
No.
Tadpoles.
But if I was an Israeli and I didn't like the Pharaoh, I would totally put frogs in that bros pyramid. I would totally do that. I'm just saying. I just a thought, or maybe the protesters were going for poetic justice, or maybe it's just sort of the spirit of the age. It's a sort of a unintentional Freudian slip.
Could be.
Coincidence like that.
But this, it's all, everything is just so much happening, so many moving parts. Even with the election thing, it was such a distraction. That's what I was mentioning to you guys on the WhatsApp group. It's for this small moment, which was so funny, as ever since the debate started with Biden and Trump, everyone's just been distracted. Nobody was talking about Palestine. And when Palestine finally comes back in, it's Beijing, it's China mending ties between Fatah and Hamas. And it's such a cheap and generic way of, it's like, no, we're not gonna talk about genocide. It's the day after. That's what they said when they were talking to Barghouti on Al Jazeera. The day after, we're gonna make sure that Hamas and Fatah are working together and there's peace between them. So we got to ride this whole thing out. But China tried to come in and act like there were going to be some championing, like we're gonna mend and build a strong force of Fatah and Hamas.
But isn't that a good thing?
It is a number one. I think even before we talk about it, it's a good thing. It's a game, right? Like, from my understanding, and Sim, you can correct me, and you can correct me, and anyone else can. Anything happens in the Middle East, especially in Palestine, nothing happens without the permission of America. especially in Palestine. So why is this player of China coming in and saying that they're going to mend ties as if they're working on their own to mend the ties between Hamas and Fatah? What's happening here?
Well, I think that they
How could
actually-
America stop them from mending ties?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's my.
No, I think
Oh,
what
America
Sheikh,
will definitely
I
stop
think what
it.
Sheikh is getting at is that there's an undermining of the United States that's happening by China, where people are in the Middle East, leaders in the Middle East are looking to China to solve problems that the United States can't or is unwilling to.
For sure.
Yeah,
So-
For sure.
I don't think China's working with America and colluding with America. on
I
this.
personally think that they can't
That's
move
what
without
I'm
America
thinking.
making those ties. Like who do they have the audacity to go and invite Fatah, and
Yeah.
there's no way.
Yeah.
I'm with Sim on
That
this.
I
I
agree
think China is undermining America by doing that.
Yeah. So America it wouldn't do that because of the optics, Sheikh. The reason why
Yeah.
it doesn't work like that because you're essentially giving your biggest rival in the world an advantage just for
But your biggest rival in the world for what? Look,
for economic trade and everything,
so it's
for
only-
military,
it's mainly
everything.
economics. It's mainly
No,
economics, right?
It's for a lot of things, for military as well too. Look at what's happening in Taiwan. Even the Chinese Communist Party has come out and said that we are anticipating some level of military conflict with the United States within the next 5 years. So
Also-
it's not just an economic game.
So let me just hold on to that real quick. So so if you think about like as far as a superpower is concerned, right? Like China is nowhere near, especially like even like shipping ideology. It has nothing. It doesn't come close to America, right?
No, they're
It
not
doesn't.
about shipping out ideologies. They're about making money.
They're making money.
They're more
Exactly.
capitalistic.
So what I was thinking is, and this is what I heard from brother, and I kind of liked this conversation I had with him, and he was mentioning, and that China has been out of this whole idea of Palestine for a long time. It seems like a nonpartisan, power that's going to come in and mend the ties between them two. But don't you think that this oversight has to be done by America because America and Israel are responsible for this entire thing?
Look, the
Like, how could-
major things like bringing about a Palestinian state, China won't have the leverage to do that because Israel and Israel and America are locked in together. Their fates are pretty much tied. Or at least Israel's fate is tied to America. So a peace deal won't be made with China in that regard, or a Palestinian state won't be created unless the Chinese
No, Palestine won't be
military
created.
flexes its muscles. or
But you
anything.
said that's the point over there. There won't be a Palestinian state. We can almost say that definitively.
Yeah.
So the fact that China is here is just almost like handing off this temporary carnage, handing off this temporary thing to China because America just doesn't want to deal with it. So we'll hand it off to China for a little bit. And what's going to happen is when they get handed off, it's just going to be like they're enslaved also in a way. They're dependent on China. China's not going to end up doing anything. And they get played with again.
No,
It's not handing off. It's
No?
just that America can't stop it.
I don't know about that, bro. That's
So-
kind
It's
of
not. It's not. It's not. America.
If it was any other country, I'd
Well, you
understand.
said-
But if it was Palestine
we
and the
don't-
Middle
we
East,
don't-
that's really difficult to understand, bro.
we don't have complete control of these people.
No, yeah.
I mean, America is powerful, but that doesn't mean we can control everything about everybody's country at all times. I mean, so
Yeah.
if China comes into Palestinian, or they're not even going into Palestinian occupied territory.
No, they're not, yeah.
meeting with people in Qatar
Yeah.
or Dubai or Kuwait.
China, yeah.
You know, they're having This is all being done third party through intermediaries in third party countries. You
Yeah.
know, it's not like China is like rolling up with an entire division of Chinese PLA troops and an ambassador seated inside of a Mercedes, and he's showing up into East Jerusalem to negotiate this. You know, it's all being done third party. So I
Also,
I
one of our
don't think it's that they're allowing it. It's like you just can't stop it.
also one of our viewers, Adnan Kabir, is saying that China helped make a peace deal between Saudi and Iran earlier this year. So I
Exactly.
think like you were bringing up ideology, I don't think China is interested in spreading Chinese ideology, but they work the diplomatic and economic connections really, really well.
Yeah, very detailed. Yeah,
And
Slow
they have
pace.
been expanding into Africa, into South America, where there's a lot of natural resources, and they've been butting heads against US, UK, France, Germany for a while now. Same thing with Russia. So as China is getting stronger and developing more, they are establishing themselves overseas as well. And this Palestine-Israel conflict has been a huge boon to Chinese shipping. So as Yemen cut off trade in the Red Sea, Chinese ships and all the other ships that are not
That's true.
really involved, they're going through. And China has been raking it in because a lot of people, instead of using American shipping companies, are now using Chinese shipping companies. So China's loving this. So not just Red Sea, but also when the Euro-American countries were beefing with Iran, they cut off the Persian Gulf. And again, Chinese shipping is going through the Persian Gulf. So they've really helped each other in this way. So I think China's trying to help undercut America. And I think America's been trying to divide, Hamas and Fatah. But China's undercutting them by bringing Hamas and Fatah together.
But then how does Saudi play into this? Because Saudi's trying to normalize ties between Israel and the Middle East. Can't that affect... And I'm just thinking out loudly. I mean, I didn't think this out before the episode, but I'm just thinking out now. How does that affect normalization?
So Saudi Arabia wants normalization,
Yeah.
right? But ultimately, it doesn't want to sacrifice itself for the sake of normalization. It doesn't want to sacrifice its standing and credibility among Muslims and its own countrymen, right? That weakens the legitimacy of the monarchy. That's an existential threat to them. So they're going to make sure that, they're saying now recently MBS came out against Netanyahu and he made some strong worded statements and stuff, but that's all like to protect his ass, and he wants to make sure that people understand that he's against what he's doing as well. So also, ultimately what happens when you are looking at these type of events, you have to, at least when you see Netanyahu coming to the United States and you're seeing the Congress applauding, that's all theater. They're all fuming behind the scenes. They have to do that for their AIPAC donors and stuff. Even the Republicans, right? They're all fuming behind the scenes because there's a lot of money that's being lost by American businesses all across the world.
Yep.
When you talk to any Muslim in any Muslim country, all the American businesses are like empty. All the restaurants, all the enterprises, anything that a decision making is being made where there is a Chinese company or an American company, they're going with a Chinese company.
Also,
the McDonald's down the street from me here in Jakarta used to be a 24-hour place, and now shuts down at 8 p.m.
Wow.
They had to cut back hours and staff. Starbucks, not a ghost town, but you only see the Chinese Christians and the Catholic Javanese people. You don't see serious Muslims there anymore.
I see.
They've lost about 20% of their business here in Jakarta easily. That's a huge margin, huge loss.
Also, here's a hot
Starbucks
take.
might actually go under.
Hot take, yes, sir.
So everyone's kind of like pissed at Congress for inviting Netanyahu to come, right? But Sim raised a really important point that everyone is really pissed. So I'm thinking, I don't think they invited him to come.
No,
I think
yeah.
No,
You're right.
I think he was told, come here and answer because we're losing tons and tons of money. We're getting, smacked around. Militarily speaking, they're losing a lot. They're spending a lot of money to support Israel. They're going through a lot of diplomatic tensions. We as Americans have lost a lot of diplomatic credit. So I think they told Netanyahu, come here and answer our questions. I think he's being called into the principal's office.
You think so?
It's a hot
Is that what
take.
it
I don't
seems like?
know.
It's either that or Netanyahu's wanting permission to attack Lebanon, and they want American backing to attack Lebanon.
I think that's it. Yeah.
And so there's two things that are happening. There could be that, and I don't think that the Republicans have enough spine to rein in Netanyahu like that. It could be like elements of the deep state that we don't know. People, the guys in the black ties and people who are the power
Men in
players,
black.
and no, not men in black, but just guys who are influential people who control businesses, the oligarchy, for example.
Like the Koch
Yes.
brothers and stuff.
Yeah, people who
Sim,
are
I'm glad
losing
you said
billions.
that because Sim, because before October 7th, there were actually leaked Pentagon documents. I don't know if you all remember that one Air Force kid who leaked things on a Discord server.
Yeah.
Oh, right,
And one
right.
of the things that came out of that was that the Pentagon knows that Mossad was trying to use anti-Netanyahu protests as a way to force him out of power. People forget that before October 7th, Israel was like this close to a literal coup or civil war. In fact, that might still be a possibility because the Israeli IDF generals know that war with Hezbollah suicide, and the only way that Netanyahu can stay out of jail because of his corruption charge is to keep the war going and keep that wartime political coalition going. And so I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of people online, and I got into this with some other people, that we've had previously on the show before, that Mossad, the lobby, and our deep state are not the same thing. It's like saying that Benito Mussolini's fascist Italy was the same thing as Nazi Germany. They're related, they're similar, but they're not always one for one. And towards the end, Mussolini and the Italian fascists were kind of like, why are we going on the suicide pact with the Nazis? A lot of them were kind of realizing that. So people do need to stop seeing all-encompassing conspiracy theories and start having a little bit of nuance and complexity in play here. There's different factions, for sure.
Also, I don't want to defend. You brought up one thing with Saudi normalizing ties, right? It's really important when you're in politics and trying to figure out what's going on to understand why people are doing things. You could be doing the wrong things for the right reasons and vice versa. And I'm not trying to defend Saudi. I don't like Mohammed bin Salman or any of these things. But the reason he is normalizing ties with Israel is because he wants to limit Iran. He's afraid of Iran. So, this is something that Sami Hamdi kept bringing up. He's siding with Israel and trying to support Israel in order to get a NATO-style treaty. But if China steps in and helps Israel or helps Saudi and Iran come to some terms, that can help Mohammed bin Salman stop normalizing ties with Israel.
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a very sequential thinking process and logical. But one of the most important considerations is that when Israel and Iran and Saudi Arabia are making a pact, they're undermining the United States. That's very important to understand, especially because it's being brought together by China, right? When you have the United States, who is the world superpower, who is making sure everyone is getting along. It acts as the leader, the negotiator, the one who brokers treaties, not being involved in that.
Security and safety.
That's a huge black eye. So that's why it was such an embarrassment to the United States that they did it without their green light. And they just Biden came out with a statement saying that anytime there's peace between adversaries, we always welcome it. And so he just put out a vanilla statement like that, but privately it was a huge undermining of American ambitions and American.
So this China thing
power.
is actually kind of a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Beijing,
It's
a huge slap in the face.
So they're finding whichever way they can to get China involved in brokering agreements and assisting or facilitating the Middle Eastern actors wherever they can pull China in, where it doesn't involve the United States. They're bringing them in, and that's undermining the United States. So it's important.
Yeah, no, the effect is greater now that you mentioned that, because I heard that line a lot in the past few months. But now, since China is brokering this deal between Fatah and Hamas, now it makes the slap a little more malevolent.
Yeah. Well, we also we're not under any illusion that Fatah is a very compromised government, and there's many people who are in that group who are just eating and feeding off of the misery of the rest of the Palestinians. We're under no illusions about that.
Also, it's important to understand China's not doing this out of the generosity and goodwill. They're going to want something in return, and there's a huge oil field that was discovered off of Gaza, right? If they can get their hands into that oil,
gas field,
sorry, natural gas.
But that's what Israel's going for, though, right?
Yeah, that's what Israel's wanting. Those are way down the line. I don't think that's in the Chinese vision right now, at least for short-term objectives. Short-term objectives, they want to make sure they're reducing the American reach and influence in the Middle East, and that because they're doing that in South America. and Africa. They're stealing places where Europeans in America had traditionally had a lot of influence and were able to swing things, but they've expanded so much that they no longer have that kind of reach that they used to, and partly because of the Afghan war too. Afghan and Iraq wars depleted American resources by a lot, and they don't have that same ability to reach into every single crevice of various governments all across the world. They just don't. They used to.
And also, it's sort of worn down the American people. Not only are we battle fatigued, but we're disenfranchised. You know, people, the young generation, the Gen Zers, it used to be, it was always conservative, good old boys from the South and the Midwest that signed up for the Army, but because of the DEI, you know, and just the demonization of white men from the red state areas, and also because they see all these wars are nonsense, it's really radicalized people, and then you factor in plus the Nick Fuentes type seeing the truth about how Israel really controls American politics in a lot of ways. A lot of conservative traditional people who used to make up the bulk of military recruitment, you know, they're just like, I'm not dying for Israel.
Yeah.
F that. That is nothing. And they saw what happened to guys like me coming back home and getting treated like garbage and having to fight with a broken VA system. And they're like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. I'll find another way to pay for college, or I just won't go. You know? So, you know, like the Army, even amongst the Air Force, like the Air Force usually always has a good, easy time making recruitment numbers. Nobody in the military can make their recruitment numbers. Not a single one of the branches. Maybe the Coast Guard can do it, but nobody can really do it. So, can you imagine if we went to a full-on war with Iran right now? Like, trying to mobilize Gen Z to do this?
That's one of the
Can you
theories.
imagine trying to get them to do that?
No, that's
Do you
one of the
think they're gonna
theories.
do that?
No, that's one of the
What?
theories, right? Why part of it, not all of it. Part of it is why they need a lot of foreigners coming in, whether they're legal or illegal. They incentivizing citizenships and a whole bunch of perks and giving them, you know, stipends and hotel rooms and credit cards.
That's maybe, yeah, maybe that's what I tell people all the time. They're not letting all these illegal immigrants in here because of charity.
Hey, they're
It's, you know,
undocumented. They're undocumented travelers.
They're illegals. I'm not doing that undocumented nonsense.
I'm not doing it either. I'm
not
messing
doing
around,
that.
bro.
They're a bunch of they're illegally here. They're aliens.
No, I got you. I
not-
got you. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not that woke, but
I know you're not woke like that.
yeah. But so the other thing is, look, But do you think it's a safe? Sometimes I need you guys as my Jiminy Crickets to make sure that I'm thinking straight. Is this actually the assassination? All this new stuff that's coming out about the Donald Trump assassination attempt and everything that's happened with politics, Netanyahu coming here. All of this is just. It just doesn't seem real. It just seems like we're living in some weird story, and it's not making sense, right? There's just too much happening at the same time, man, and it's you know, I don't know. I feel like, look, when I saw this assassination attempt happen, I personally thought that he was meant to be assassinated. I thought that there was more than one shooter. That there wasn't just one shooter, and I thought that they just messed up and he didn't get killed. But another part of me is like, and the other part of me is like thinking that it was meant to be, and I'm going to try very carefully not to be Alex Jones here, but it was meant to be a huge flop and a mess up, and I mean not the missing of the bullet, but just this how easily this dude was able to
make him like a martyr so that he could win.
Yeah,
a little boost.
I don't know, man.
Well, Alex Jones himself said that it was probably the deep state that did this, but it's not to give him a boost. It's like it was meant to be. It was actually intentional. They actually did try and take him out. Some element of the deep state did actually try and take him out. I don't think it was Mossad, by the way, or the Zionists. I think the lobby and Mossad love Trump, and they can't get enough of them.
That's
Trump
true.
might not like Bibi Netanyahu, but he's still going to go along with whatever they want. But he does Trump, you know, and to Sheikh Bin Hamid's point, I do agree with this. Donald Trump does push back on some elements of the deep state in America, very much so.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it was the CIA, FBI that wanted him, some element of those groups that just wants him gone. I don't agree with this idea that it was all staged to give him a martyrdom boost, because that is such a small margin that they were working with.
Oh, yeah.
That shooter was working with 1 inch the other way, and Trump would be dead, and we'd have a very different election cycle.
No, so my point in saying that, I didn't articulate that probably. My point in saying that is that how is this dude 100? I know we talked about this before. How is this dude 150 yards away in the sight of the Secret Service, and it just continued? The police went up there and went back down because they saw a dude with a gun. The Secret Service didn't want to go up because they said that the roof is slanted. Like, these are all weird excuses, bro. Yeah, so it just seems too planted. Like,
we grew up thinking that we grew up knowing, like, I mean, Americans just know that the Secret Service is like a badass agency.
Yeah.
There's no room for messing up.
Yeah.
That costs the leader of the world, in their eyes, his life, and they have their bleep together. Like,
unless if they want something to happen, wanted something to happen.
But then, like, look,
are they that incoherent though?
No, but when you see how they Harry, when you see like how they incorporated DEI into their organization, you're like, maybe it was just incompetence. Because you see, like, this one lady, there was this video of this one Secret Service agent. She couldn't put a gun back in her holster.
Was hilarious.
She was keep on, like, moving back.
I started feeling bad for her, bro.
I was so embarrassed for her. I'm like, oh my god! And people all over Twitter, are saying, look at this agent who can't find her holster.
People from
did you see that, Harry?
I did. That's embarrassing.
People from Siberia were cracking jokes, bro.
I've done some dumb stuff with guns, but I've never done anything that dumb. That was extra special embarrassing.
So maybe it wasn't competence. Like, how do you say that that's not into play? Because when times changed, and when we were young, the Secret Service was badass, but now it's become an organization.
At least we thought would be.
No, that was such because incompetence in the heat of the moment, when there's stress and adrenaline flowing through you with a woman who clearly, God bless her, just has no business doing that kind of work. God bless her. I'm sure she's a sincere, decent woman. It's just not her thing.
But how would they bring her up? How would they bring her about if they knew somebody like that, bro? Or
But see, it's not just the Secret Service. There were other law enforcement agencies there, and they have not been as subject to DEI as the other ones. That's why I would say this is not just incompetence. This is allotment. They have allowed this to happen, just like with Lee Harvey Oswald. The idea that the Secret Service back in the 60s did not secure a textbook depository that is right along the route of where JFK is going.
I love this guy.
Back in the Disney, back before DEI, we know something was up somewhere along the way with that.
There's just
so many, that wasn't incompetence then. I don't think it's incompetence now.
There were so many gaps in their security plan. Like, they didn't have you know how you have like layers of security? They didn't have the fencing right. They didn't have like people posted every 50 yards or whatever.
And every building in a mile radius.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody checked out the inside of that building. There's just so many gaps.
Police were inside, but he's on top of the building.
That's not.
No, they didn't.
The
look at that
individual
building.
incompetence of that one person does not mean that the whole organization is incompetent, or that the leadership couldn't handle basic one-on-one stuff.
Yeah,
that was intentional.
I mean, maybe you could make the argument that because he's not the current president, that he doesn't have as much allotment of security funds or whatever.
No, it was really telling that Biden didn't approve of the Secret Service detail for Trump up until like a couple months ago, or was it? Was a very short amount of time ago that he only approved Trump having a Secret Service detail, and you're like, wait, this is your biggest opponent. How could you not sign off on getting him the security that he needs?
No, I think all presidents
still haven't approved for RFK Jr. either.
All previous presidents.
I heard that he does have one now.
Yeah, he just got one like 2 weeks ago.
He just got it. Yeah,
a week ago. Yeah.
Wait, I thought all former presidents get 4 years of Secret Service detail.
That's what I thought. Yeah,
they have access. They still have relevant knowledge.
Yeah.
So you don't want your
Right.
former president getting kidnapped and then like spilling all the nuclear secrets or whatever.
Maybe it's just so divided on that level that they threw it out the window too, unintentionally.
Who remembers like this theory that was being floated about for the past couple of days that Biden's dead?
That
And
spread
that-
pretty fast.
And every Laura Loomer's like passing around, bookmark this. I'm like, you're such a clown. You're so stupid. You're so stupid. Like if Biden's actually dead, like it wouldn't leak out from the White House.
It's a
Someone-
fun thing to say. That's all it is.
It wasn't a crazy. Well, as with most conspiracy theories, not all of them. Some of them are just pretty ridiculous. But that's not an implausible one, considering that they just tried to assassinate Trump. So the idea that somebody put a pillow over Joe Biden's face during nap time, you know,
But the idea that Laura Loomer has
it's not out of
the idea that Laura Loomer has the inside scoop on this and certain elements.
Laura Loomer doesn't have the inside scoop, but I'm just saying that
Yeah.
it's not a crazy idea that somebody just put Joe Biden to sleep one more time forever.
But you know, if they
medication
did, they'd
time.
probably like
It's not
announce
that
it right
crazy,
away.
considering that Trump just got his ear blown off. It's not really that.
Not look. We're in such a clown world, Harry.
Clown
that
world.
I can't.
That's what it is.
I can't say anything stupid now.
That's true.
Like everything that I thought was like crazy, you're seeing stuff that is from like parody movies being brought into real life. You're seeing. I saw this one I put up on Twitter or something, or there were just all these Trump supporters who put that white bandage on their ear in support of him. They're all lined up like little
they love him.
lemming marshmallows, just sitting around
Kanye
worshiping the guy.
West meets Tom Clancy, baby. That's what's up.
No, look, there's always this degree of playing along. When Mehdi Hassan was debating with Piers Morgan like 2 weeks ago about Joe Biden and his influence, he's like, no, he's actually going to be leading the polls, and he has a very strong possibility against Donald Trump, and he's very, very strong if you look at some of the polls. And then same thing about Kamala Harris. I was like, people who are leaning on the left and people are leaning on the right, they have their own crazy delusions. And those delusions, they have to put up a straight face when they're debating those because it's their side. And that becomes very, very problematic because you hear like, you know, even Mehdi Hassan, he's a great orator. He's a good debater. But when it comes to supporting the Democrats and like complete undermining the influence that Donald Trump has is very telling. It shows like, you know, where your loyalties and everything are, and it just shows a lack of maturity. But clown world is what it is, man, because everything goes now.
Have you guys
Everything
seen the
goes.
movie Idiocracy?
No.
Okay, so it's a movie.
Oh, yeah.
I think it came out in like the early 2000s, and it's about the future where everyone becomes stupid because of like technology and whatnot, and the president is basically like a wrestling guy, some wrestler from like whatever, right? And it's just like everyone has become stupid in society, and there's so many parallels to today. And someone made a YouTube clip or a TikTok clip or something, and they're showing Hulk Hogan announcing that he's supporting Donald Trump,
RNC.
and then they have like 5-second clips of this and Idiocracy, and it's going back and forth, and it's almost word for word from that movie, man.
Wow.
Gatorade makes the plants grow.
I'm
No,
not
that was
drinking water
ridiculous.
comes out of a
From the movie,
toilet.
like they-
Dude, that
in the
RNC
future,
was the
people-
best freak show I've seen in a long time, bro. It was thoroughly entertaining. I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, but it was really funny. The only one good, almost convincing was that would make maybe some of the Democrats worry is what Tucker Carlson was saying, because he sounded like really like he had you could tell he's like he kind of knows what he's talking about, obviously. But other than that, everything else was kind of a freak show, bro. I mean, from what I've seen, I didn't see the whole entire thing, but it was crazy. And I think that where we're going now in this La La Land that we're in, I don't think that we have just as you know, Americans, there's a lot less control that we have, and I think everybody senses that there's this huge lack of control, and anything could happen at any moment, you know. And now Kamala Harris is like, they acted like they love Joe Biden, but they're so relieved that Kamala Harris is here now, as if she's gonna save the show. But what do you guys think, based on her? The proper again, she was a prosecutor. She was this and she was that, and she has a great chance. She obviously has a better chance than Biden, but just as far as debates are concerned, because look, Trump is a buffoon too in some ways. He's just a great entertainer. He has good, demeaning statements. He's got he's got really good comebacks. He's funny. People love his entertainment. And as obviously for like CEOs and economy and stuff, there's obviously a class that loves him. But what chance do you think on a debating level that Kamala Harris has?
Much better than Joe Biden.
Much better than Joe Biden for sure.
Much better than
Do you
Joe
think she
Biden.
can make this come through because she's the first black woman, and it'll just be like
She's already doing pretty well in the polls, but it could just be the initial, boost that a lot of candidates get when they're first announced. There's a lot of excitement and
$250 million in 48 hours? $250 million?
That's fine. There's going to be a lot of established, what do they call, the boomer Democrat crowd that really wants the image of the White House looking good. They're not very crazy about Trump. They're just a lot of former hippies who became just part of the machine that really
sellouts.
Yeah.
So the reason why I mentioned the $250 million, look, how much, because that's $250 million. Is that money enough to bandage the reputation that Joe Biden had and have a fresh new start now to get people back in as a support for this PR? Because if you have $250 million, like, I don't know too much about how much of that they spend in marketing and influence, but how much of that you think they're going to go through up until the elections happen?
They're going to have all the money they need, man.
Right?
It's not a matter of money now. It's a matter of who is going to be able to embarrass the other one to a point where they lose. The American public will have to lose faith, and they're only fighting over a small percentage of the American voter population. Most of people traditionally already vote Republican or Democrat. They're going to do what they're going to do no matter what. They're fighting over the small slice of
swing states,
people who are in swing states and who are just independent and trying to get them on their side. So
I'll tell you what. After Trump got assassinated, I thought he was for sure going to win because I saw evidence that he's caved into whatever the Israel lobby wants, and there's some people in the political establishment that are rallying behind him. So I thought Trump was guaranteed to win after that thing. But then the RNC happened.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I'm like, and I mean this seriously as a person of vanilla white people persuasion. Trump, that RNC thing, if you are an America Firster who supported Trump in 2016, who crawled over broken glass in 2 elections, and you can see this on X from the Nick Fuentes, the Jake Shields, the Candace Owens types, all those people are looking at this and going, are you freaking serious? There are a lot of people who looked at that RNC thing and they're like, oh no, I'm not showing up on election day. Literally, who are so disenfranchised. So Trump, he might have gotten some more votes in by bringing in a digital. What is this Rose Evelyn, just like digital stripper chick, and then maybe some extra votes by having a Sikh woman get some kind of prayer.
They became someone I can't remember who. Someone commented on Twitter saying that the Republican Party became what the Democrats were about 10 years ago.
Exactly.
10, 15 years ago.
Exactly.
And
they're all the same at the end.
And JD Vance, picking him as your candidate, completely undid all the movement all the sympathy and all the everything that came off of the attempted assassination was just you blew it all away with that pick. That was
JD Vance got selected.
Genius,
he goes up in the RNC, and the first thing out of JD Vance's pie hole is like, "Yeah, Rams really bad. Let's start a war with them." Like, what are you doing, my ninja? What's wrong with you? What are you doing? That's not what they wanted. So Trump might actually lose. I actually think he may have alienated because if I was back in the States right now, I sure wouldn't vote for him.
Yeah.
Dude,
What would I vote for? What could I, as a Muslim, possibly vote for in that, or a white person?
Undecided.
How could I vote for that? Yeah, I would rather vote for Jill Stein just because she, as a matter of principle, just as an FU vote.
Yeah.
than actually show up and vote for Trump. At this point.
My kids were saying that who should you vote for? I'm like, sure. This state is already going to go to whoever votes for the. It's always a Democrat state in Illinois. So I just said vote for Jill Stein. It's like a good FU vote to the whole system. If you really want
You
to
know,
vote.
because Joe Biden's been pushing back on against Bibi at least publicly, like strongly, and it sometimes did kind of slow down the flow of weapons. You could make an argument, and Fuentes made this argument. I agree with it. A little bit, in ways, Joe Biden has actually been more of an America First president than Trump was. Not just his economic nationalism, but also his strong pushback, at least publicly, in terms of rhetoric against Bibi Netanyahu, to the point where he's losing Zionist lobby support. So, in that sense, Biden has actually been a little bit more America First than Trump is right now. So, like, that's just adding to the fuel of upside down, hungry hippos clown world.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, if Kamala Harris becomes president at this point, and I would never said this 8 years ago, but if Kamala Harris stays president because she's a prosecutor at heart, she'll probably deport a lot of illegal aliens, and she'll probably secure that border a little bit because they have to, just like Macron had to cave in to the right wing in France. And you know what? I just feel like throwing up saying this, but I'm almost kind of okay with Kamala Harris being president because things are so ridiculous now.
She has that going for her though. The prosecutor thing and like the first black woman ever in history. There's something about that, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I really think she has a legitimate chance. Trump really, I don't know how you could have bungled it as worse as he did since that attempted assassination. You just were the path to victory had opened up. Nothing that the Democrats put up, no candidate would have stood a chance if he just put some inconsequential vice president as well. Like he could have just put someone who's just
Vivek would have been a good choice.
Vivek would have been a great choice. Oh my God!
But
yeah,
he's Hindu.
Or if he brought in what's his name, he could have brought in Robert Kennedy.
Yeah,
And he would have solidified both bases, and that would now Bobby Kennedy's going to steal so many votes away from Trump. That's a
true.
huge problem for Trump. That he would have solved such a huge problem by just bringing Kennedy in. Kennedy, Trump. Look at that name on that ticket. Trump Kennedy on bumper stickers, on signs. You can't.
it's got a different ring to it. Yeah.
It's
got a
over.
different ring to it. Yeah.
Dude, if he had just picked a African American vice president, who, like you said, someone who's not really controversial either one way or the other, but there's a lot of Republican African American congressmen. He could have picked any one of them and then just closed the deal right then and there.
Yeah. Could have.
Did you guys see what's going on with Adidas?
No, what's happening with Adidas?
So Adidas had
I did.
Sudden change of heart.
what?
I'm setting my Adidas shoes on fire, by the way.
Wow, what happened?
So
Such a
Adidas
bungle.
had
Shoot,
Bella
I'm gonna do this
Hadid,
right now.
Palestinian model Bella Hadid. Cover your eyes, Shia, or your ears, as we talk about this.
Eyes on yours.
But Bella Hadid is a Palestinian model who was supposed to advertise in a new campaign. The Zionists threw a fit about it and saying, Adidas, this is unacceptable, blah, blah, blah. Why are you supporting someone who is a clear anti-Semite, according to what they're saying? So Adidas pulled a campaign. That followed up with Bella Hadid getting attorneys and stuff and basically getting ready to file a lawsuit against Adidas. And a lot of people all over Twitter saying that, hey, we're going to boycott Adidas for pulling Bella Hadid. So now Adidas, this company can't get anything right, man. They started, remember the history a little bit. Let's pull it back a little bit. This started off with Kanye, right? And the Yeezys, right?
Right.
Adidas was the one who was
Did
pushing
Adidas actually pass up Michael Jordan too, and then Nike took him? Isn't that what happened historically?
Historically,
Yeah.
probably. You know more about that than I do.
Yeah, I think so. But I'm just saying it goes back farther than Kanye.
No, but
they
this
messed
is
up hard.
Kanye. Okay, they messed up with Kanye. They lost not just them losing Kanye, but then they also had to take the hit from losing Kanye. Then the boycott happened from. There was another boycott that hit Adidas, but now they tried to get the pro-Palestinian crowd initially, like by getting Bella Hadid on, but then they see they're like they're like that tiger from He-Man. They're just before he becomes Battle Cat. You know how he's just shivering always.
Yeah.
Like he gets spooked by everything. That's what Adidas is. It's that little
Cat.
What's his name?
Yeah.
What was his name?
Thundercats?
No. He-Man's cat.
He-Man's cat. But
What?
yeah, dude, and that, I mean, that's obviously one of the simping of capitalism
Cringer.
that you have to do.
Cringer was his name. So
Yeah.
Cringer, the scared little tiger. That's what Adidas reminds me of. Just always on the edge,
Worries,
like
yeah.
want to do something bold and something, but then they just don't have the stomach to handle anything.
Just,
They have the
just sell
technology.
shoes. Just sell shoes. Whoever the CEO of Adidas is, just sell shoes. That's all you need to do.
They gotta
Sell
fire their
shoes.
marketing team.
You'll be fine. That's all you have to do.
So they're getting hit hard by a latest round of boycott calls from all across the world. And don't underestimate these girls on Instagram and on TikTok.
Oh, there's people that invest a
There
lot of
is
money in
a
them.
big pro-Palestinian female movement, man. And it cannot be ignored. These girls are moving things in a different direction that nobody would have been able to foresee.
Money talks, brother.
They're like any Instagrammer who isn't talking about Palestine. They're like, especially like if they're like Arab or Palestinian based. I don't know if you guys heard of these girls called the Assad sisters.
Mm-mm.
Have you heard of them? They're on Instagram. They're pretty big following, and these girls are like the biggest dits Arab girls from the East Coast or something. But these girls are huge influencers with a Arab background, and I think they're Palestinian or Lebanese back. I can't remember, but they have a good linkage to that area of the world, and they literally created entire subreddits where they just make fun of these girls all day, every day. So it's called like our Assad sisters. You got to check it out. It's funny because they're just like these basic girls who really just put on a ton of makeup and are wealthy, and they've made a huge following. They have nothing important or anything valuable to contribute to the world, but their hijab styles, and they have like virtually like every shade of hijab color available. Like if you see their closet, they got all these like every single shade that's humanly possible.
I'm not sure if I should watch this, man.
But yeah,
So are you saying
I
that
think I might watch
these
these girls for the wrong
these-
reasons.
no,
I don't know if
they're-
I can trust them.
no,
But
there's
just keep the video off. Just listen.
but these girls are really like adding pressure to all these different influencers
Wow.
and companies all across the world. They're Muslim and non-Muslim. They're all these girls all across the world are just pushing, making waves,
Wow.
and it's insane to see because
Makes
these
sense,
companies can't shadow ban everyone.
But it makes sense though
No.
because, well, first of all, no one is as vicious as teenage girls. They're like, hell hath no wrath like
Yeah.
a teenage girl.
Yeah.
And then second,
Oh,
that's your
no, right, I like that.
yeah. The second thing is like, that's where the majority of your customers are coming from. Teenagers that have disposable income that are willing to save up $400 for a pair of kicks or whatever, right?
Yep.
So if you piss off that base, you're gonna lose a ton of money. That's what happened with Starbucks. Who do you think is like, bankrolling Howard Schultz? It's not like your 40-year-old middle-aged men that are rushing to work and
That's
grabbing
true.
a cup of black coffee from home. It's your high school girls that have disposable income
High
that
school
are
and
buying,
college, yeah.
frappuccinos every 3 hours or something.
Yeah.
Here we go. 1 second. Let me just share the screen with you guys. I wanted to show you
By
guys.
the way, thank you, Mort. Me and Shaz are going in on the pistachios you left here for us. They became very addictive.
Here
We
we go.
can't
Here's
stop eating them.
L'Oreal.
Oh,
Okay.
snap.
Pistachios are amazing.
L'Oreal is just tanking. So L'Oreal is one of those targeted boycott campaigns by a lot of girls, and they're getting killed. McDonald's, Adidas, all these companies are hurting really bad, and you're Nestle, I think even Nestle's among one of them too,
Yeah.
because Nestle's an American company that's being targeted by boycotts across the world. So
Dude, Nestle is just the epitome of evil, man. Every evil thing you can imagine, Nestle's in it.
Really?
Yeah, dude. Nestle's, it's a Dutch company, I think. Or Swiss.
no, it's American.
Their headquarters is in Europe somewhere. Where's Martin? He would know.
Martin.
Martin.
He's hilarious. So sarcastic. I
Oh,
love
it's a
it.
Swiss company.
Swiss company, right?
Didn't they sell chocolate to the Nazis?
They
during
sold
World War
chocolate
II?
to the Nazis. They made it illegal to collect rainwater. They used child labor for harvesting.
I heard about the
cocoa.
rainwater. I thought that was a joke. When Bill Burr was talking about that, I thought that was a joke.
No,
Oh,
there's a
dude.
movie on that called Even
it's
the
not.
Rain.
Even the rain.
Yeah, I thought I showed it to you.
No.
It was back when I was living in Bolingbroke.
Dang, what else? Tell me more.
They're like every evil thing you can imagine. Nestle's behind it, and you would.
Wow.
It's like one of those things that like people talk about conspiracies with the deep state, and you're like, no, that's nonsense. But then you watch like a documentary about Nestle, and you're like, it sells chocolate, but they're like one of the most evil companies on the planet. And then you're like,
What
I
a
don't know what to
disguise.
believe in anymore.
What
The
a
people of
disguise.
Guatemala would disagree with you. Yes, right.
Who was that other one?
Oh,
that
and I think they.
the one that had the Bhopal Union Carbide.
No, I'm saying right that like that's what happened in Guatemala with Colonel Arbenz back in the 50s.
right.
You know, and
La
I think
Quinta, Chinquinta, the banana lady, the bananas you buy, that
Yeah.
used to be the United Fruit Corporation. And they basically used Edward Bernays, the son of Sigmund Freud, to wage a PR campaign in the papers, and the CIA overthrew Bernays.
yeah.
Or the CIA overthrew Colonel Arbenz in a coup back in the early 50s. That's where the term Banana Republic comes from. It comes from Guatemala.
And I think Nestle had a hand in that, right? They helped overthrow the government.
Maybe, I don't know, but I know specifically that for Guatemala was about bananas.
Yeah.
Maybe Nestle's in there too. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who else is?
We
on
had
the
a viewer saying that he was in India a couple of weeks ago, and the boycotts are going strong there. Lots of people are boycotting American brands. Thank you, Yahya.
Wow. Sorry, friends. Did you go to Hajj this year?
No, I did not.
Oh, okay. I know there's a lot of people I knew that went and your head was shaved. It looks nice on you, mashallah. I wasn't sure. But anyways.
We're going to be doing an episode soon with a beekeeper, a Muslim beekeeper. His name is Brother Abdullah from Felton Farms in Chicago. Sometime next week. He had to. We were planning on doing it this Saturday, but he changed the date to next Saturday. So hopefully, we got an exciting show because he does bee sting therapy, and I got some bee stings.
Oh, you were being serious about that?
Yeah. So I got some bee stings done on my shoulders and stuff, and
Wait,
it's
wait,
pretty
wait.
cool.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No. Hold on.
Yeah.
When did this happen?
on Sunday.
Just
Wait.
past Sunday.
Yeah.
Abdullah
So how
from-
did you find it?
My-
Abdullah Felton, remember from BU? He went to BU.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I don't go
So
BU.
my mom actually got in touch with him because he friend of a friend,
Yeah, and
and
he sells his
yeah,
honey at all these Muslim stores.
yeah, and he came over. He gave my mom some treatments and a couple other family members some shots with the bee sting.
Get the heck out of here.
And I saw in front of my eyes, man. I saw some miracles happening.
Shut up.
I swear to God,
Where did you get it done?
I got it down my shoulders,
Oh, yeah, where else?
on my back.
Huh.
What? Where are you looking?
Did
to
you know?
shit?
Did you see any results?
Mashallah, everything is.
Did you see any results? Like, what did you see?
I have kids.
No. Why would...
You know, I saw where you were looking. You were
No.
like, where else did you get the shot?
Not like... Bro, anyway, so what really...
Sheikh Amr,
unbecome-
please
Sheikh.
behave. We're trying to keep this a
This is
PG show.
PG show. Mashallah.
So how
The
did... No,
future
so for in your shoulders, because I know you had like surgeries and you had all that kind of stuff and you had injuries.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how long is this generally the effect supposed to take of like healing and start the
I
process?
saw it immediately, man. I saw my brother-in-law. I just saw his arm was locked, and it wouldn't move. It wouldn't move, and I saw him moving his arm all the way back.
So
Yeah.
are these specific types of bees or is just going to be any bees?
These
People get stung
are-
by bees all the time. The only people I know that get stung by the bees, either they start crying or they have to go to the emergency room because they're allergic to bees, bro.
Yeah. So these are just regular bees.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they're a bit aged, so they're ready to die because once they sting you, they're going to die.
So he's a humane beekeeper.
Huh? Yeah. So he uses the older bees just sting you with it. And oh my god, it is painful for like 15 seconds. It is like, oh, and I felt like euphoric.
Is bee
Like,
venom
like it's so weird to explain it. It almost felt like
like a high?
like a high right after you got stung. I'm like, oh, I'm in a good mood.
So
Get the heck out of here.
Yeah, it was
Is-
insane.
is
He
bee,
said
look this
that
up.
happens.
is bee venom like a neurotoxin or like a?
I don't think it's a neurotoxin, but it is some sort of. I don't know. We'll have to ask him. We'll ask him. That's why we're doing the show. So hopefully you guys tune in.
I think our Jamie is looking that up from Indonesia right now.
Did you ever get a bee sting?
Yeah, I ain't y'all, Jamie. I'm tweeting on my ex
Oh.
telling people to watch this
So
show.
apparently bee stings also treat multiple sclerosis. I'm sorry, MS.
Really?
Is it multiple sclerosis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping. I know Jake just recently
Yeah.
announced it, so I'm hoping that he gets on it. Hopefully, I can message him on the side, and next time he comes to the United States, we get him some bee stings.
So when he came here, okay, now I'm being
Yeah.
serious now. So we can talk about this again next Saturday.
Yeah.
So what did he do? Just okay, on this shoulder is hurting over here. He looks at it and he just has it sting you right there.
Yeah, you just literally point to the spot where it hurts, and he gives you a sting.
So he like holds the bee and then pokes you with the bee, or like
Yeah.
See, he makes that face when he's joking. I don't know if
I'm
he's
not
being serious.
making a joke, man. I'm serious.
That's the face you always make when
Bro,
you're never.
I wouldn't be going on and on about it if I'm joking. I would have told you like, no,
yeah,
I'm
this is just
joking.
really no. I've just never heard of this. It's crazy.
You never heard of
I
this?
never heard
I've heard of stuff like
It's
this.
been used for like hundreds of years.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, just Google bee sting therapy.
I've heard of a lot of stuff like this, but it's always been like local indigenous communities. Like someone will like get fire ants, right? And as a like how sometimes we need to pick up in the morning, like we do
Yeah.
coffee or something. Like some local Amazon tribe, they'll like go eat a fire ant, and then like it stings them, and that's their like caffeine fix
Here
for
we
the
go.
day.
Here we go. What is bee sting therapy good for? Bee venom is a natural product that has risen in popularity due to its variety of potential health benefits. It has been shown to have anti-inflammatory properties, may benefit skin health, and can possibly help treat symptoms related to various health conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis and chronic pain. There you
Yeah,
have it, Chip.
what?
Aren't most painkillers
Yeah.
made from like venoms? Like
A lot of them are.
Tylenol,
I think they're from
ibuprofen.
opiates.
Yeah.
No, a lot of them are from like opiates and like certain plants.
I think it varies.
Rainforest.
You
Yeah,
know,
a
you
lot
got
of
me interested.
pharmaceuticals are derived from stuff in the rainforest, or at least originally.
So if I tell them I want beef because I recently had hands, I mean
Yeah,
the hands
that's
are pretty much fine.
that's why I'm.
No, that's why I heard you say. I was like, okay. Why would you talk
No,
about
I'm
this?
literally going to give Sheikh Amr some bee stings on his hand for the show. He's going to bring up a jar of bees, and he's going to give you a couple shots.
What?
On,
Well,
on
yeah,
your-
I've been
on your
stung when
hand.
I was little. I was like, what if I'm actually allergic?
Chef,
Does he
you-
carry EpiPens with him just in case?
We'll bring a doctor. How about that?
You won't die from
We'll
just
bring a
one.
doctor. We'll bring my
sting.
cousin. He's a doctor, just in case.
I want to be here for this.
Yeah, come on.
If
Tell
you're
your cousin
allergic
about
to
that.
bee
Your cousin's a
stings,
doctor.
you need
Tell him
you need
about
a
the
few
bee sting
stings
therapy.
No,
before
he
it
was there.
hurts you.
He was there, bro. He was there with us on Sunday. Yeah, he was monitoring. He's doing his own study on it. Yeah,
We should get
That's
the hijama
legit.
guy. You know, like there's a guy.
he does hijamas as well.
He does hijamas too?
Yeah,
We
so
should
we
have
can
him
talk
talk about
about
hijamas.
Cool.
I don't think enough people know about hijama.
I think you're right. Let's.
There's a lot of layers to hijama. That I mean, a lot of people know how to do hijama, but they don't know exactly which spot to do it at. So that's a whole nother science that we gotta open up and discuss.
Remember we
More
got
in depth
hijama in
Egypt,
Egypt?
yeah.
That was the
my
first
guy,
time I
Muhammad
ever had
Imam.
hijama.
Where'd you have it done?
This guy Muhammad, he's a doctor. He was a medical doctor, and then he retired and he started doing hijama. Legit.
You should ask him
Yeah.
about bee sting therapy if you still have his contact.
Yeah, I think I do.
Ask him if it's legit.
All right, Shabab, we gotta go run Prayer Maghrib. Thank you all for joining. Please make sure you hit this
What if the bees
like
are
button.
racist?
Comment if you haven't commented yet under the comment section. You guys who've been chatting away in the chat, come through. Put it in the regular comment section, because that you guys typing away in the chat box doesn't really help the algorithm. And
Smash the
otherwise,
like button, bro.
smash that like button. We'll see y'all next time. Assalamu alaikum.
Say bismillah before you smash it though.
Assalamu alaikum, my ninjas. Y'all take care now.
Walaikum salam. My winjas.
Ninjas, not winjas. There's no winjas.